He put me out of bed at 11 o'clock, 11:30. I remember it just like it was yesterday. And he said, Mom, all right, Mom, I'll see you in the resurrection then. That was his words to me. And I didn't think he's going to do anything. And I said, all right, you might be humbugging tonight. I'll go stay with your sister. And I should have followed him. And he went and did that thing.
Heather Umbagai has decided to break her silence about the circumstances in which her son, Radke, took his life after he was refused use of the family motorcar. He was unlicensed and heavily intoxicated. She spoke to Fairfax Media to bring national attention to the trauma and devastation youth suicide continues to have on families in her community. Hers is a desperate plea for help.
I'm standing at the entrance of Mojum community. It's a little community of 300 to 400 people. Half those people are under the age of 30 years. The huge turning point for this community was when CDP was cut off 5 years ago, and most of them were flung onto welfare and all became welfare dependent. As a result of that, they turned to alcohol, and the results have been devastating.
You know, we talk about kids, it's what they see is what they do. So if you got majority of people drinking, parents drinking all the time, well then, you know, the kids won't go to school. For some reason they don't want to go to school because, you know, the parents don't work. They're not working, so they just sitting around the house all day waiting for, you know, where the next beer gonna come from. Or
It's impossible to exaggerate the deadly crisis gripping Mojum. In the Northern Territory, an Indigenous youth suicide rate of 30 deaths per 100,000 was enough to launch a parliamentary inquiry. In this tiny community and the surrounding district, official records confirm there have been 9 completed suicides in almost as many months. And that is in a youth population of just 200. Police, who have been at the front line and the only source of consistent help for this community, know how desperate the situation is. A suicide response team based in Broome, a 2-hour drive away, also knows. And health workers at the Derby Hospital, a 10-minute drive from Mojum's front gate, are dismayed at the lack of direct government response.
The superintendent in charge now is very active in helping us try and curb the grog issues. And, you know, he does come out and do raids on houses when the directors asked him to come out, and they do patrols out here fairly regularly now.
All pleas for help have been turned down in Perth and Canberra. Requests for funding for special programs have been rejected.
No, I just think they just look at it as a normal community, as they would have assessed as just as a normal community. We weren't given any special, privileges because of our dispensation, I think, with the suicide.
Elders are beside themselves, and the council really doesn't know what to do next. They worry about the impact of all this trauma on 80 small children that exist in this community.
I don't know what happened with the kids, but I mean, I think personally that they're traumatized. But you know, we don't. No one ever came out and seen these people, or see the kids, or see the family about, you know, talking to the mother or father or the husband or wife, not the wife, or, you know.
They don't talk to anybody. There seem to be no counseling here, no youth services for these young people. And, you know, even now, after the deaths of those young people, there is no follow-up counseling for them. You know, not to mention for the mothers who are suffering through it. You know, I never had any counseling of any sort.
When a suicide occurs in Mojum, it's normal for the family to request that the tree used be cut down. They don't want a reminder of a hanging, and they don't want copycat incidents. As a result, the community is literally littered with tree stumps. This one is in an abandoned playground behind the Uniting Church. It was here several months ago that a 16-year-old boy took his life in the early hours of the morning, around 1:30 a.m. It was his birthday, and from all accounts he'd been drinking all day. What provoked his final act was a trivial argument over a mobile phone. But the aftermath of his death has traumatised the community. His body was found hanging by a small girl. After she raised the alarm, the body remained in full view for many hours before it was eventually removed by police and emergency services. During that time, scores of children were at the scene. Parents are deeply concerned. They say there's been no grief counselling for the kids, and they worry that such trauma is becoming an accepted part of everyday life.
Grieving very, very badly, crying till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, get up and just sit like this, like a zombie, you know? No one there to make your meals, no one there to assist you. I mean, you don't know, I mean, you can do your own things with your own family, you know, your partner or your daughters. But other than that, there's no one to really hold your hand through that crisis.